Hey there, everybody. What is going on? Sean with Zero to Income. And today I got to interview Camden McGregor with 10x Your Team. You can check out his website at 10xyourteam.net. And you can also check out his YouTube channel at 10x Your Team. And in this interview, we talk about what they do at 10x Your Team. So let's go check it out. All right. So, Camden, I would love to learn more about your story, how you got here, what brought you here, what's been some the keys to your success, maybe some challenges.
Yeah, gosh, what got me here, it's one of those, it's kind of that butterfly effect thing. My mind immediately went to one event, which I'll hit quickly because it does make the story long. But, I was playing rugby here at the U of A and had a weightlifting accident, hurt my back, and pro rugby career was gone. And so, as far as I was concerned, I was dead set that was the direction I was going to go. If anyone had asked me what I was going to do after school, I'd say, well, I'm studying agricultural business, but it's because I want to own a farm when I retire from being a pro rugby player. Like, that was the way I saw my path. And, what happens is when you get an injury like that, it's just like there's all sorts of events in your life that happen like this, but you lose your sense of identity, you lose your sense of purpose. And I was just lost with a lot of it. And fortunately for me, I had my dad, who I talked with all the time. And he at the time was just working on a company, LTO Enterprises, which you can see our hat right there for LTO, the old business. And he was doing a lot of transition coaching with veterans. And so I was able to, run through basically his transition coaching program for free. And with that, that really gave me the clarity that I needed to start moving forward and choose my new path as an entrepreneur. And, then years down the road, after a few different entrepreneurial ventures, I was working part-time with him at what it was now Tribe and Purpose. And then was thinking, gosh, I love this business stuff. Gosh, I love the leadership aspect of it. That was my favorite part of the business. I love the problem solving, but also I love the leadership aspects of it. Mm-hmm. And I'm out there coaching rugby all the time. And like, gosh, it would be a lot of fun to get into the leadership coaching business. Mm-hmm. And so I came on board with him, focusing a lot in that transition coaching and, working with college athletes who went through similar things to me, whether it was an injury or, they just graduated. And hopefully for a lot of them, it wasn't this wake up call of, ooh, I'm not that good. The NFL is not calling. Usually there's a little bit more self-awareness there, but just helping them to get that clarity and understanding of what their purpose is and creating a plan to go get it. And, that's the long and short of it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that jumped out at me while you were talking was when you had that accident that kind of ended your rugby career, and you kind of mentioned this, and that is that identity crisis of, I'm all about rugby. That's who I am. That's what my life's been like, and I imagine that must have just been a huge struggle for you, trying to figure out, who am I now? What am I now? What's next?
It really was. And, I think it's something that happened. Like I said, it happens to lots of different people for all sorts of different reasons. Of course, the veterans go through that a lot. When they hang up the uniform, they go through that identity crisis as well. And to give you the brief answer of what that looks like, because I do think it's important to share it, and folks, this is kind of like sharing some nugget from a therapist. It's like, this does not solve your problems, but it's like, it is a big piece of the process. But it's recognizing, and it sounds cheesy. We were joking about mindfulness on your half of this joint interview. Yeah. But it sounds a little cheesy, but it's like, it's just understanding who you are and that you are not all of those things. I am just Camden. I am not Camden, the rugby player. I'm not just Camden, the entrepreneur. Because I'll tell you a little secret, Sean. I went through the exact same thing with my businesses. When I hung up a business, I felt that same loss of identity of like, wait, I thought I was going to be the CEO of Aquatunities forever. I thought I would be the CEO of Verby forever. And I'll tell you the truth. I want to go back and get both those businesses going one day. But it's like, at the same time, when you hang your identity on all of those things, you are giving that control to somebody else. You're giving that control out to the world. And instead, if you just focus on who you are, your values, your work ethic, your discipline, all of those different things there, all those things that make up the journey, then no one can really take that away from you. You always have that. And it's a hard place to get to, like I said, but it's a lot stronger, I would say. Yeah.
And I really like, again, you've kind of hinted at that already, how you apply that to Tribe and, why am I?
Tribe and Purpose. You're good.
Tribe and Purpose. I knew it was a P. Tribe and Purpose. In your leadership training, how that's incorporated into it, right? Tell me more about that. because
Yeah.
I think that it's a huge part of your training.
It really is, because I talk about all of that in terms of the transition coaching and all of that. That's really where
Mhm.
I learned a lot of that lessons. Of course, for my dad's story of it would be a little bit different. But the key to me there is that all those things I'm talking about, it's still leadership, but it's leading yourself. It's understanding. People talk about viewing your life as viewing yourself as a business, and treating yourself as an entrepreneur, even if you're not an entrepreneur. That's a pretty common thing you hear thrown out on podcasts. But really, it's this idea of I am leading my own life and attacking that just like a leader would attack a problem inside of a business. What is the purpose? Why are you here? What do you want? What is the impact you want to have? What is the mission that you're on? How are you going to make that reality, or make that vision come to reality, right? Not just this idea, kind of vague idea of, well, I'm Camden. I kind of like rugby or these different, and I'm into business a little bit. I studied ag. I'm from Colorado. I'm a military brat. No. What is my story? Who am I? What is my purpose? It's like, okay, I want to help people. I want to affect change through all of my different life categories, which I know is something Coach and I shared with you. But it's like going through that of, look, not just a understanding of like, look, I am this job, I am this role. Even if you're an entrepreneur and you're your own boss, falling into that identity trap is just as easy. And when you start to recognize your different, like I mentioned, the life categories and how nuanced and complicated your life is and how much it is uniquely yours, it's a lot easier to stay into that place. And it just goes back to the leadership of, once you have that understanding, just like a good leader, it's like, hey, we want to, take a rugby example. We want to win the game Saturday. All right, well, what do we need to do to win the game? And then you start putting that plan together. And that's really the fundamentals, because we say it all the time. If you can't lead yourself, you're not going to lead others. If you can't lead yourself, you're not going to inspire others to follow you. And it all just goes back to being able to lead yourself first.
Yeah, I love that. In one of the calls that you and I had, you really went into that, the importance of leading yourself, and how there's this level of emotional intelligence that is really kind of important. And I do think that we can grow that emotional intelligence that's necessary for ourselves in order to be better leaders. And so much of that, what you've experienced with the challenges you've had, identity changes, that goes into businesses, because you're right. We have these different businesses, different, entrepreneur journeys that we've gone into. And for whatever reason, we've shifted gears and gone another way. And it's like, there's some identity changes in each of those, and so navigating that is so important. And having someone like you and your dad there to help people navigate that, I think, is huge.
Yeah, and because it's going to happen all sorts of different ways. I'll give you another example, because we're kind of circling around a little bit more of to put it broadly, the more like the failure type of things, where it's like the business fails, you have a back injury, there, these kind of more catastrophic type events. Sure. It happens with success too. That's the kind of crazy thing. And this is one of those, I've done more of my coaching in the transition side of things with those college athletes, like I mentioned, and then some of the leadership development in teams. My dad has done more of the executive coaching, and he's had to sit down a handful of different CEOs. And this is not unique to Tribe and Purpose. This happens with other coaches and consultants and all those kind of things. And they go, Sean, you're not a good CEO. Your vision was great. You got the business to this point. You are not good at your job right now. And you do not have the skill set for it. You don't have the aptitude for it. You might not even enjoy what you're doing. Just like we talk about in leadership all the time, of the idea of the mechanic who's really good at working on the cars, gets the most cars done, changes the most tires. And so you go, you know what? You're a manager now. And then he gets there and he's like, I hate people. That's why I want to work on cars. Like, same thing happens with entrepreneurs. It is a different skill set to talk, to grow a business than it is to run a business. We were talking in the first half of this, which if you're just hearing Sean interviewing me, go to the 10xYourTeam YouTube channel and check out the other half of it, because Sean got a lot of good nuggets in there too. But it's just like we were talking about with that you have to have an understanding of what it is that you want to get out of it. You have to be able to put that plan together and, be able to make those micro pivots as you're going. And if you're tied up in your identity and you are constantly tied to what you used to be doing, then you are going to fail in that next chapter. I think of it, just like I was saying, it's like an old business, these different things there. You get that ego involved too much, rather than just recognizing your role inside of the business. The example I always throw out is, that CEO who needs to step down, maybe slide into a different position. There's all sorts of different options there. But I always think it's like, wouldn't that just be the coolest thing to go, I was the CEO of that. I built that. I built that, and I don't run anymore yet. I know, but they still send me checks. It's like, that's
Yeah.
freaking awesome. Like, it's like, that's a much cooler way of looking at it. And recognize
Yep.
your role in the journey. Don't let
Mhm.
your ego tell you that you need a bigger role.
Yeah, it's so important that the ego thing that really rings true. It's it can be a challenge to keep your ego in check, and it's like, hey, it's not that big of a deal. Um, the whole point is to serve, and that might mean me. You and I have talked about this, the Good to Great book. That might mean me changing the seat on the bus, or
Yep.
maybe I need to get off this bus. I'm on the wrong bus right now, or I've ridden as far as this bus is going to go for me. I'm getting off. This is my stop.
Yeah, and it goes back to the mindfulness and the self-awareness we were talking about.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things to bring up in my coaching, and I wish I would have Googled this beforehand to double check, because I love my Stoic quotes, but because of that, they blur together. I think this is a Marcus Aurelius, but I'm not totally sure. But it's the idea that the easiest and most deadly sin is lying to yourself, right? And it's so easy. It's so easy to say, you know what? I need to sleep a little bit longer. That's my bad one. I'm not a morning person, and I could talk myself into that extra 30 minutes. It's like, you know what? I just had such a rough night, Sean. I need this 30 minutes. It's so easy to lie to yourself. And then because it's so easy, you'll lie to yourself about all sorts of things, and that can jack up your life if you just let yourself, if you never call yourself out on it,
Yeah. Yep. I agree. And I totally just was like, oh, another person like me. I am not a morning person. So it was like, I can't relate.
But actually, wait, this is a great point for our conversation. Actually, I hadn't put this one together before. It's really funny, but that self-awareness is so important, because and you've met my dad Otis, and we'll have you on the podcast here soon. And yeah, believe it or not, the 27-year Green Beret, he wakes up early, and that was my standard. That was what a successful day looks like. And I'll tell you, I do think I need to get up earlier. I think it would help me be more successful. But then on the other end of it, I also can look at myself and go, I'm never going to be a 5 a.m. guy. I just don't think I'm going to settle in. I don't think I'm going to magically settle into that. I think now, can I push it from 8 to 7? Yeah, I need to do that. 6:30 maybe. Yeah, that would be good. It's all there's a flexibility there, but just recognizing that was someone else's definition of what a successful schedule looks like. It works wonders for him. It doesn't work for me. That's all right. You gotta try things out and be ready to keep pivoting, like we've been talking about.
Yeah, definitely. So important to be trying things out and pivoting, and I agree. Speaking of pivoting, I want to pivot a little bit here and focus a little bit more about what you and your dad do at Tribe and Purpose. And what I'd like to learn a little bit about is, what are some of the more memorable, maybe clients or changes you've seen in somebody? Because I know that, one of my past lives, I was a counselor, and so I've got all these experiences helping people quit smoking, and there were some clients that kind of stood out, and I imagine you have that kind of remember what we did with so and the change they had. Do you have anything you want to share?
No, definitely. A bunch come to mind. One of the main ones, and this is the broader, less specific one that comes to mind, is we last year we ran a bunch of interns through our 3-month leadership program, GBLP, and they were all college seniors getting ready to go into the field. A lot of them, because they were interns, were looking to get hired with the company we were working with. And it was just really interesting to see all of these different applications of the stuff we've been talking about. I think inside of business, it can be a little bit. This might rub people the wrong way. It can get a little bit easier because I sign the paychecks, and there's this management structure in place where you do kind of have to follow what I'm saying. It's like, we'll talk about this on the podcast all the time.
Sure.
Of the leadership of the Army, and so great. They have so many great schools and trainings that they go through that can help to make you a great leader. But also, Sean, you know what happens if you tell your boss in the Army that you don't want to go to work today? You go to freaking jail. Like, literally, you go to jail. Like, so it's a little bit easier like that. And with these college seniors, they were being a leader of their peers, which to give, my dad Otis his credit, he told me this when I was a captain of a rugby team. It's like the hardest thing you'll ever do in life is be a leader of your peers, because you want them to like you. You don't really have pressure you can put on them. Like, what am I going to do? I can't fire you. I can't do anything to you. You just not doing your job. And I have to figure out how to use the soft skills to get you to do the job. And I think so because of that, we got so many really interesting problem sets in that kind of a vein where it's like, dude, I have people that just don't care. and I care a lot, and I want them to care. And it's a lot harder to solve those problems. But the overarching answer to a lot of those is it just goes back to modeling. We talked a little bit about control earlier, focusing on what's inside your control, accepting what's outside of your control, right?
Yeah.
You, as a leader, you think you're in control of that team. You're not in control of any of those people.
Mm-hmm.
What you're in control of is how you show up as a leader, how you model that behavior. And if you model really good behavior, you are focused, then it is more likely that they will follow it. They may not. That's how it goes. I love the analogy of the ripple effects, right? That we have the choice to keep doing these things, whether we're talking about gratitude, holding the door open for somebody, whatever it is. You have a choice to do these nice things for folks, modeling good leadership, right?
Yeah.
You could do that and no one could ever care. But all you could do, talk about those ripple effects, is you can just keep throwing the stone out and just keep throwing it out. And maybe one day that ripple effect will hit somebody and they'll go, you know what? Sean really showed me how to be a great leader, and I don't think I gave him enough credit for that. I should probably start working a little bit harder with this. Maybe I should volunteer some extra time, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And it just goes back to what do you have control over? Just how you show up. And so if you model that behavior, then people will more likely follow it, and they might not. And then, going back to, the bus, then might be time to get them off the bus. But all you could do is show them the right way to act. I think of, I give a quick example of out with the rugby team. If captain goes and he's like, we're not working hard enough and I want to show up early and work. If he's there early, then what happens is the next day, a couple other guys show up early. And then by the time you got 30 guys out there early, everyone's early. And then all the coaches got to show up early. And it's like all this kind of stuff. But it just starts off with modeling. It's not cracking the whip and saying, you guys got to do this. It's I'm doing this because I want to get better. Do you want to get better? And that's the big flip there for me. The other one that comes to mind is more in the executive area. We because it's a lot of fun. We did a offsite with some folks, and just always really good. Executive teams are interesting because they're together for a reason, and then but the work, it's just like a relationship. The work can just kind of tear things apart and get messy. So getting in an offsite and getting folks to really start collaborating again, and going back to why they were there in the first place, going back to their purpose and those kind of things is a really exciting place to be, because purpose is so powerful, of course.
Yeah, no, it is. It's definitely powerful. So what does it look like when someone comes to work with you? Is it something that is, a weekend thing? Is it a weekly thing for 10 weeks? What's this whole process look when someone comes to work with you and they're wanting to make a change and develop some leadership skills? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we got a few different programs. The first one I'll hit really quickly because we spend less time on it. We do fractional COO work, and we spend less time on it just because I think our focus is more in the actual leadership and team development side of things. But
fractional COO?
Fractional COO. So for a business that doesn't really have the budget yet, you're in that growth where you're like, ooh, I know what I need, but I can't pay for it just yet. We can kind of step in and help to bridge that gap for those growing businesses. And then the other programs that we, I spend more time talking about, because again, it's where I have more fun with it also.
Sure.
Is one I already mentioned, GBLP. So that's the Green Beret Leadership Program. So this one is for teams, usually kind of in that 10 to 20 range as far as size of the team. And this is about developing leaders inside of your team, getting to what we like to call having a team of leaders. When you're leading a team of leaders, it's a really powerful place to be, because each person has ownership over their problem set. They can function independently. It makes them more flexible. They understand the vision. They understand purpose, all of those same kind of things that we're talking about in terms of self-leadership. When you have a team that is all on that same page, it is a really freaking cool place to be, let me tell you. So that is specific to kind of get into the nuts and bolts of it. That's a 3-month program. We go through, got a bunch of online videos to kind of talk things through. And then the real juice of it comes from our implementation calls. And I'm sure you've been on leadership teams like that, or teams where it's not just that somebody's smart or that you are getting taught something. It is the group of people coming together and collaborating on it, which really hammers the lessons home. My dad always talks about this with his time with the Green Berets. It's not just that you got some badass who's in charge. You got a bunch of badasses together who all learn it from each other. And that is a really powerful place to be.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what GBLP helps with, and really just to help create that more flexible team so that you can sustain your growth. Because what really happens as business grows is you get what we call that leadership gap. Where when we're around the coffee table and we're just talking about things, everyone understands what my vision is as a CEO. Then we start hiring some folks, and we hire some remote workers and these different things. All of a sudden, that gap just grows and grows and grows. And the way I like to put it is each leader you develop in your team that you give that skill set, it opens them up to then be kind of a beacon for that leadership, beacon for your culture, and to help that kind of sustain throughout the organization. And then the last thing we had is also another 3-month program. We actually just launched this one called the CEO Jumpstart. And so this is more for solopreneurs who are just getting started out and know they want to be a CEO. We were talking about the guys earlier who, you're the startup guy, and then you get to the point where you got to hang up the hat, get off the bus because you're not a good CEO. We want to help you to not have to get off the bus there. Right. And that's what the CEO Jumpstart is all about. It's about understanding yourself and your building your own self-leadership skills so that then you can be more effective as a leader when that time comes and you do have a team to lead. And so that's also a 3-month program. That one, instead of the group coaching, it's one-on-one coaching with me, which is a lot of fun, of course. Group coaching is so much fun. I do enjoy my one-on-ones, though.
Yeah. You kind of mentioned something I think that is really important for a lot of us, even somebody who's going to be the CEO. And Robert Kiyosaki talks a lot about this in his Rich Dad, Poor Dad books, and that is just developing that team, because even as a CEO, you're not going to have all of the knowledge and all of the skills. Your job, my view anyway of a CEO is being able to realize, hey, I don't have all the skills, but I want to go and grab those key members that do. In your dad's world, it would be the Green Beret who's the medic. That's his specialty, the Green Beret, who, again, maybe is the explosives expert. And again, I'm not familiar with how it all works.
Hey, I can give you one more because my examples aren't that great either. Because there's a comms guy, I know that.
There you go. Exactly. But they all work together as a team.
Yep.
And again, when you have those people and they have that team and leadership mentality, and you bring all that together, that's some powerful stuff.
It is. And you touched on the other aspect with the CEO Jumpstart that I'd love to add to it, which I didn't mention, which is, we're tribe and purpose for a reason, which is building that tribe. And that's not, we're not going to get on a coaching call and I'm going to tell you all the people you need to hire. What I'm going to talk to you about is all the people you need to go have a cup of coffee with. People that you just need to sit down and tell your business ideas, see if they got any ideas for you, see if they want to collaborate, see if they want to, they got some referrals or anything like that, and just start growing that network, growing your tribe, because that's the only way you really are going to make it. Because we could talk all the time about building a team. Sean, it costs a lot of money to hire on a whole team. If I came to you and was like, I need you to hire 10 people, you're going to go, what the hell are you talking about, kid? I don't have the money for that. I might be able to get them through a couple of days, but that's about it. I don't have the bankroll for it. And that's where a lot of people are. And so it's about building a tribe of other people that might have their own businesses. They might not be in business, but you can support each other in other ways and help push each other towards success. And I think that's a really big key of what it is also.
Yeah. Wow. That's powerful. Definitely some powerful stuff. I'm just speechless. It's amazing. Some of the things that came to mind as you were talking was, Dana is out doing stuff like that. He's going to conferences. He's talking to people. Pat Flynn talks about also go have conversations with people and find out what are they struggling with. And what challenges do they have, and so in my case, as maybe somebody who's struggling to be a CEO, it would be, I'm not sure if I'm on the right bus. I'm not sure which seat I should be in, and coming to someone like you're going to help me figure that out, and a lot of that is just sitting down and having a cup of coffee with me,
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Cool. Good stuff. Yeah. So, if people wanted to get a hold of you, or did you have anything else that you wanted to share before?
No. Best thing is just 10xYourTeam.net. On there, you'll see 3 different things right when you get on there. The DIY leadership, which will take you to our Facebook channel and some other more DIY type of things. And then the Done With You programs, which are the GBLP and the CEO Jumpstart, like I mentioned. And then there's also a link to the fractional COO services there as well. And if you were specifically interested in the CEO Jumpstart, that is 10xyourteam.net/CEO.
All right. So that's the important thing. 10xyourteam.net.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And that's 10x your team.
YOURTEAM.net. Public spelling. I think I got it.
I love it.
Wait, we're talking, I got to get this out. We're talking business lessons, all this kind of stuff. I threw out one of my business names. We're laughing at Zero to Income. I got to throw one out. Aquatunities sounds awesome. So cool. It's aquaponics and opportunities. Spell opportunities on the phone, Sean.
Oh my gosh. Yep. Well, my Amazon business was Impulse Buys for You, and it's the number 4. So again, have it spelled out. Impulse Buys, number 4. It's a letter U, not Y-O-U. The letter U looks cool.
That's yeah. Don't make it too cute, folks. There's the lesson for the solopreneurs out there.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, Camden, this has been a hoot. Really enjoyed this, and again, like you said, do this every week.
Yes, we could. And folks, if you enjoyed this, make sure you tune in, because we're having Sean on 10x Your Team here in just a couple weeks, I think, and we'll get Otis in on all the fun.
Yeah. And again, go check out the YouTube channel 10x Your Team, because that is what Otis and Camden are doing. They're hanging out like he and I are doing right now and talking, and they get down and talk leadership. All right. And they have guests you can go and check out. I know one of the videos that I was watching on the channel was the interview with each of the members of the different forces. You had a SEAL team person. I wasn't sure if you had a pararescue guy from the force or not.
We played favoritism a bit. We had 2 Green Berets technically. So we had 2 Green Berets and a Navy SEAL. Yeah.
And that was a hoot. And that's the kind of stuff that you guys do. And so check out the channel too. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Sean. And thank you so much for spending some time with me on this episode of Tribe Talks.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I mean, this has been great. And I've been really appreciative of our time here. It's been good.